Hey everyone, in this video we're going to go over how to use a snow pusher on a wheel loader. Check this out. Hey everyone, in this video, again, we're going over a snow pusher that's attached to a wheel loader. So I'm going to go over the controls. First thing I always tell you, I'm not an expert on these things, so I'm just going to show you some tips and tricks, things I've learned, but I'm also want to hear from you guys. Let's share comments for people that operate these. We've already done our pre-op inspection, everything on the wheel loader. And the second piece of this, I really want to do a shout out and thanks to Precision Landscape in Hastings, Minnesota. They're allowing us to use one of their machines, and we're on one of their accounts, kind of in a practice area that we're at. So it helps us to do some training here and give you guys some good videos. Now, before I get in the machine, I'd just like to show the snow pusher we're running here. There's a few different attachments. Sometimes you'll see them actually attached, buckets off the wheel loader and attached. This one you'll also see where they're kind of bolted or chained on. Essentially, I mean, they're the same. If you got them chained on the way, they're going to act the same. It's just a little bit different on where you lower it. I'm going to show you that from inside. The only thing I like to show you, and I do this in our wheel loader training video too, is understanding you can't see the front, the blade on a wheel loader bucket. So understanding that there's almost always going to be a straight edge on whatever you're using. So this is my straight edge. This, you'll see, matches my bottom of the snow of the pusher, the box blade here. That where it's you know, when I get up in the cab, I'm not going to see this. I'm going to be looking at that, and that kind of, we're using this box blade here that'll kind of show what my angle is there. So now let's go ahead and get in the cab. Okay, now that I got in this, first thing, as always, seatbelt. I can't stress enough, any snow plowing, you'll see in some of our other videos we've done, wear your seatbelt. You know, especially when you're plowing, you may run into something, and you do not want to go up into that steering wheel, into the windshield there. So a couple things. We're running a John Deere 344L series loader here. Controls. Really, you know, you'll see we have how to operate a wheel loader. A lot of these controls are standard, really regardless of the brand. So I'm not going to go over the basic controls. Again, we do a wheel loader 101 training. We'll link to that if you want to actually see the controls. But right now I'm just focusing on the snow pusher. Again, I use snow pusher and box blade. I guess I see them as the same, but so, you know, the way this is attached to it, I'm going to go over some of the controls on this. So with our site, we really, first of all, have a site plan. Know the site. We're in a practice area that we use on one of these accounts that allows us to bring new operators out, and it's one of those areas. I will tell you from experience, do not have a new operator go into an area they've never run before and just learn that way. Find an area. You've got to have some area that you can get out there and just let them move material around a little bit. So other than that, with a box blade like this, there's really not much. They don't twist at all. It's not like a snowplow. So the idea is they're really good. A wheel loader, just with the weight of it, the benefit here is it pushes a lot of snow. So that's really the idea there, and then it stacks it a lot better. It's going to raise this higher. So I'm going to show you a little tip and trick there at the end. So with that said, seatbelts on this John Deere, parking brakes over on that side. So 2 foot pedals, a brake, and a throttle on the right, and then my right joystick is just going to raise it up. Now you'll see from being in the cab now, it's what I was talking about when outside, I can't see that blade angle on the front. So it's really important to be able to understand now, when I'm sitting back up high like that, I can see the top edge there, so I can see that I'm flat on there. Now, when you have these box blades, this put onto the front of the wheel loader bucket that's still attached, you won't take that bucket all the way to the ground. You want to keep it up just a little bit, but all I'm looking at is the box blade on there. So with this John Deere, my shifter is right here on my joystick, so it's on my fingers there. I'm using that. Now again, understanding we're right now having a plan. This one we're pushing, we started out with a truck plow, we're pushing it over. Now I set this down, and this is where I'm just looking, and I can see, and I'm rolling that edge down a little bit. Now I'm going about halfway because I know I've got about a foot of snow here. So I'm starting kind of slow. Again, this also is not an area we plow regularly, so I'm going to be going over some kind of ice chunks here. So that's where applying, you don't want to apply a lot of downward pressure here. You don't want to lift up the front end, but you'll see starts coming up. Now the great thing, probably the biggest advantage of using a loader is the amount of height you can get. So this really, and a lot of times they'll use these in cleanup after a snow event to be able to push this back because I've got such a much farther reach. Now in this, in an ideal, and now looking where I'm going, I got now ideally on that pass, you can see where I actually spilled over. In an ideal, you want to try and judge how much material, because it's just not really efficient if you have to keep going back. But I'm going to bring this up and pull this back down. Now, at the end of these, kind of one tip or trick to really raise material. If I just go, and actually I'm going to back up a little bit to show you this one. The key here on a blade like a pusher or box blade like this, it's not like the wheel loader bucket. It doesn't have a bottom. So a lot of guys may go into this, and if you just keep raising up, this is typically what we do with a loader, a bucket to go into a dirt, but you see how it's just falling right out the bottom. So that is not going to achieve kind of what you're looking for. The key here is at the end of these, you actually want to curl the bucket, and what you're gonna do, so if I get down here, if I drop my boom arm down a little bit and I'm curling this up, you'll see what happens. I'm kind of going to where the back of that blade, the box blade there, now ends up scooping. See how I'm holding onto that material? And it's all, now you see how much more I was able to push over there. So again, before I go here again, now I'm just using this out in an open area. Typically a wheel loader with this pusher like this is going to be better moving. It's designed to push a lot with the power, the weight of the wheel loader there. Typically if you're talking about just a large open parking lot, you're not going to want to use a pusher like this necessarily because you're going to be spilling off of both sides. That's the great thing about a plow and a truck or even a skid that you can angle a little bit. You're trying to go one direction here. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to do one more push here, and then I'm going to show you kind of pushing more material. So that's really, I'm gonna, I showed just kind of plowing in an open area. I can't stress enough for a new operator, just get in the machine. It's always great to have a practice area like this so you can just go into it. So now I showed you an open parking lot. A wheel loader is really good. We're just gonna do some large piles here. This is where a truck plow is not gonna be able to go through. So I've got some areas here, I'm gonna try and condense all these into one pile, but this is where the loader with this blade, this pusher on it, is gonna be ideal. And it's just about cutting through some of this and then going into one pile here or whatever. This is where you'd push back with this, but again at the end of these, this is where going down with it and raising it up can make one pile. Now you're going to lose traction anytime you try and turn the wheel loader. you want to try as much as possible when you're under load is pushing it in a straight direction. The end here, I'm raising this up. The other thing too is with the wheel loader too, you put it in neutral. You know, hydraulics are going to move faster if I'm in neutral and I can give it some throttle. So dumping all that out. Now this goes into also having a plan. Now again, this area we have not, this is kind of our practice area that we don't, this is an abandoned part of the mall, so it's great for training. But understanding if I was, if you can see over my side, I've got a roadway right there. So this is obviously one where having a plan, I don't want to clear the property and push all this out in the roadway. So I'm actually trying to create one pile here, or it'd be a whole row. This one I'm just trying to keep in one area. I know that my slope of this, you can see this whole parking lot. This is where having a plan at the beginning of the season on where you're going with it. I know that I slope down like this, so the drainage on this property is going to sheet down this way. You don't necessarily want to push all of your snow down that corner, so you've got a drain down there. If we put a large pile of snow right there at the base down there, it won't be able to drain because we're gonna have a pile right above it. So understanding, this is why in the spring, or not in the spring, right before fall, right before you get the snow, having a plan. After that, put it in neutral, set this thing flat, parking brake, there we go. Okay, everyone, that's how to operate a snow pusher on a wheel loader. Again, I'd love for any comments from guys that do this for a living. Put kind of tips, tricks, things you've learned on there. And again, big thanks to Precision Landscape here in Hastings, Minnesota for letting us use their loader and one of their accounts to practice. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.